Last week's class, we discussed a little bit of the little intro regarding dating. The first date we go on. We mentioned how the first impression is one of the most important things a person has to work on his first date. Becoming proper. If you're a businessman, you come with a nice suit. If you're a Ben Torah learning, make sure you're wearing your Shabbat suit. Even if you're a plumber or a businessman of any type, whatever it is, make sure you're dressed proper for the first date. And so on goes for the woman, for the girl. She should also dress properly. Her most beautiful dress that she has. Obviously, you don't have to overdo it, but you should come dressed properly because the first impression that you make on a person usually stays with him forever. And then we discussed towards the end of the Shiur that there should be a flow, there should be chemistry. We should give and take on a date, let the person, feel comfortable. And on that, I want to expound a little bit on the actual conversation, the convo that you have on the first date or the first couple dates. Is that a person has to know that when you go on a date, besides the way you dress that we spoke about, should be presentable. Don't make it look like you just came out of the gym. Or you just came out of the shower, you didn't brush your hair. Or don't make it look like you just came out of Joseph Dreamburger. You got some still mustard on your mustache or something. Besides all that, make sure that when you have the conversation, you're not coming in. First, we have to make sure you both are comfortable. For example, I remember going on a date, and the first date that we went to was in Conrad. It's a lounge. It's very respectful. It's very elegant. It's very classy. Also, it's there's a high ceiling over there. It also makes it pleasant to sit down and talk, to have a conversation. So it's very important for you also that when you actually go on a date, make sure the place, it's not, you're not going to Bordeaux, you're not going to Pescara, you're not going to somewhere where everyone's there and you don't feel comfortable. Oh my gosh. You know that, G? I went with the last time, whatever. Yeah, it's like very, very awkward, right? Or you have like all types of people that you know them. Oh my gosh, that G just came to my mother last night. It was for Shabbat, she was there and this and that. You want to feel comfortable, right? So you go a little bit, What? So I told you, for example, I went to Conrad. That's one example.
Where's it?
Conrad. Conrad is you guys don't know what Conrad is? Yeah. In the city. Well, I want to tell you something.
It's a very Shiur.
Before I went to the city, I could count maybe on my fingers how many times I went to the city. Okay? But then when I went, so obviously I wouldn't know really where to go. But between the boys, between the girls, I'm sure there's places that, you should go over there, And then you figure out, you check it on, whether it's Google, whatever it is, check the place before, right? If it's kosher.
No, it's
It's kosher vibe, you mean. So it doesn't mean guys smoking hookah. Yeah, what's up, bro?
There's hookah?
I'm giving you an example, guy.
Interesting.
Bet you haven't been in a while. Let's see. Anyhow, you have to, what's it called? You have to get a place where it's comfortable, it's ease, it's nice, there's background music, no one's in your face, you have a couch, you feel comfortable. That's the first thing how your date should start off. Another thing is, once you start talking on the date, don't interrogate. Don't investigate. I'm going to drop a bomb over here. Let's see if she falls down. Or I'm going to drop a bomb over here. Let's see if he falls down. You guys working for it was undercover over here? What's going on? The guy watched a movie last night. It's a good technique. I'll use it on the girl. No. Whatever was in the movie, stay in the movie. And don't bring it on a date. For all you know, she could watch the same movie and she'll leave it on you.
Oh.
And then you'll cop where it's going. So at the end of the day, you want to have a nice, pleasant conversation. In that conversation, you want to try and make it her feel like she's the only person in the world. And the same way, sounds romantic, huh? And makes and she has to make it sound also, right? That when you're there, you're the only person that exists. Basically, you're tuning out everyone. That's why obviously you take your phone, either leave it in the car, side the boy, side the girl, or you put it on mute on the side. Okay? Not your mother, not your father, not your chavruso, not your uncle, not your grandma. Nobody should interfere into that thing. Obviously, if it's an emergency or whatever, then they would probably tell you before. You probably would have been on a date also. But let's say emergencies happen, right? So that you could answer the phone or whatever it is. Also, throughout the day, don't look at your watch. Don't look at the phone to see what time it is. Don't get stuck getting the water or beverages, whatever it is. Don't get stuck for a half hour and then come back. My apologies, I'm sorry. I just saw a friend or two. Because then again, you're showing her that she's less important. And you don't want to let her know that on a first date or at all. There was a guy that got married and his wife, after 8 years of living with him, she finally realized how much she means to him in his life. She took upon herself, she's going to take a pen and paper, and she's going to write down a letter. And she's going to put it in his loose leaf. So tomorrow, the next day, when he opens up his loose leaf, middle of work, he'll see that letter. Okay? So that's what she did. She wrote him a letter. And in that letter, she expressed her love towards him. And when he read that, he was so touched. Those words will never escape his mind. Never. Even when he's screaming at her, even when he gets into a fight, and no matter what situation, those words are mended in his heart. That's it. Attached him. Wherever he goes, that's the type of conversation you want to have with the girl you're on a date with. You want to make sure those words are precious. You want to make sure the conversation, there's chemistry, there's care, there's passion. You're not dead, you're not beat from a long day of work. Take a couple hours off of work, whatever it is, don't go to work if you can. Make sure you're giving your 100% to each other. That's the only way a date could actually work. Because if you're giving 50, she's your mirror. She's also going to give you 50. So you want to give it the most that you really have. Also, a person has to realize that no matter what you do in life, on a date, try to bring that into the date itself. I'll give a couple of examples. I'll explain. If a person's a plumber, okay? Person's a plumber, obviously, he's going to talk about the plumbing jobs that he has. If a guy works as a businessman, he's a lawyer, he's a doctor, or the girl's a nurse, or she manages a store, whether it's clothing or whatever, or a secretary, she's going to talk about that on the date also. And from that, you see his passion or her passion towards her work. Meaning, it's not just a job that he or she is working at. Rather, it's what they like and the jobs they found to fill in that passion that they have in life. And that's why they're at where they're at. When you talk about it and you show the importance of the job that you chose out of a million jobs that you could have worked at, it shows about your personality. But obviously, don't be persuaded and don't, go on and on and on about it. She also works and he also works. So try to hear a little bit of what he does. And you could ask or investigate, but you ask in a nice way. Why do you like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Why did you choose this? Why not something else? And then you could see his mentality and you could see her mentality. And once you talk about it, you have a conversation about it. So then you can realize or pick up a little tools from here and there. And you build a whole conversation from there. Obviously, if you're a guy that's learning, so you have to act in accordance. And no matter what you do, you always have to talk with respect. Whether you agree or disagree, doesn't make a difference. You always have to talk with respect. She's a human, and you're a human. And you guys deserve the ultimate respect. And if there is no respect on a date, there will not be respect in marriage, if it gets there. You have to have respect no matter what. And you can't come on a date. We spoke previously that if you're angry and you come on a date, you bring that anger with you, it's going to reflect on your date. Make sure your head is clear. Whatever happened during the day stays. Whatever happens at work stays at work. You have to move on. You have to make her feel she's the only one, and the same, you have to make him feel like he's the only one. There's a famous story with the Maharal Prague. The Maharal Prague was one of the greatest students in his generation in Prague itself. And back then, it was very, very hard to find a father-in-law that would support Torah to the extent where he would want his son-in-law to sit and learn for the rest of his life, and he'll support him financially with everything. Today you do find, it's more common. Also today you find kollel, right? Kollel. You want to go learn? We'll pay you 1,000, 2,000, whatever it is in Israel, 2,000 shekel, 3,000 shekel. That's considered very nice. Even though over here, the cheapest kollel is more than 3,000 shekels. In Prague, it was very hard to find. But since the Maharal, he was also unique, so he had a unique father-in-law. But before they got married, the Maharal in Prague, when he first met his father-in-law told him, listen, I know your value, I know what you're worth, and for me, I would have the honor, I would be pleased if you married my daughter, and here I'm going to write you a document that I'm going to support you financially for the rest of your life. I said, great. Let's just go on a date with your daughter and let's see if we match, right? Just chemistry. Whatever I want and she wants. No? Goes. I'm married. But what ended up happening was life's a big circle. There's ups and downs. Just because today you're rich doesn't mean tomorrow you will be. Just because today you're healthy doesn't mean tomorrow you'll have it. And what happened was that the Maharal Prague's father-in-law, well, at the time wasn't, but he lost all of his wealth. And he told the Maharal, I know I wrote you my document that I'm going to support you for the rest of my life. But I don't have the means to support you. So, if you don't mind, let's hold. Let's put it on hold. The Maharal said to himself, after going on a date with this guy's daughter, her name was Peril, if I say I don't want her, and tomorrow I get married, how is she going to live with herself? She was just about to get married to the next Galador. How is she going to live up with that? And what did he do? He said, I will not get married till she gets married. You know how long it took her to get married? 10 years. 10 years the Maharal Miprag did not get married. His father-in-law, he got so poor to the point where he sold everything. And all what was left to sell was loaves of bread. Loaves of bread. And it got to such a point where the general of the army that went to war, he said to himself, I'm starving. And he saw the Maharal's father-in-law selling bread. He took his sword and he stabbed the table with all the loaves of bread. And he picked up 3 loaves of bread and he started eating it. The Maharal Miprag's daughter turned to him and said, Your Honor, with all the respect, is that a way to act? You see we're poor. We're selling bread. Where's your mercy? You're a human. How could you do this to us? He says, You're right, but I haven't eaten for 3 days. She tells him, I'm sorry, but we're poor also. We also haven't eaten for a while. Can you please pay us something? He says, You know what? Here's my coat. He threw it to her. And he tells her, If in 3 days I don't come back, it is yours. But if I do, you have to give me back the coat. Okay. She says, Okay, we'll see what we can do with the coat. After 3 days, the general does not come back. They find out he went out to war and he died. They killed him. She's the rightful owner of the coat. She says, What am I going to do with this coat? She starts to feel the pockets. One pocket's empty. And then she feels there's something in the pocket. Other pocket. She puts her hand inside and she pulls out stones, gems, diamonds. She's like, Wow, Daddy, Hashem gave us back our wealth. Her father went, took all those gems. He sold the couple. He got back his money that he lost. He went back to becoming rich. He takes out another document, and now he writes to Maharal Miprag, If you're willing to marry my daughter, I'm still willing to support you for the rest of my life. Maharal says, I agree. They get married. When Rav Steinman saw this story, he said, You know why the Maharal Miprag was zochet to be the Maharal? In one merit. Says Rav Steinman, because he's waited 10 years for his wife. Not to embarrass this woman. That's why he was zochet to all the Torah, all the books that he wrote, all the nisim, the miracles that he has done to people. All b'schut, waiting for his wife. Not to embarrass him. When you go on a date, you talk, after 5 minutes you realize, she's not for me. What do? Yeah, so what are you saying? You pull out your phone? Yeah, just talk, whatever, I said 3 hours, we'll do 3 hours. At the beginning, you order a tea, trying to be a little gentle, you have a little dessert. After half hour, can I get the menu? I want the main course, this, that. Hey, get her a salad, whatever. All because you think she's not for you. Usually it's because you came with the wrong attitude. What you deliver, that's what gets received. You write a text. You press send. You know what's going to happen? They're going to receive that text. They're going to open it up. And exactly what you wrote, that's what will be understood. But if you come with warmth, with respect, passion, so then you'll get the same back. It's like a mirror. What you see is what you get. What you give is what you get to receive.